Hello and welcome back. So today we are going to look at this part where the user interact with our application. This is our interface for our expense tracker. Here you can be able to see adding this pop-up for adding the expense. Also here you can be able to see this part that we are calling expense report, whereby we can be able to see this chart that is giving you like overview of how you have been spending your money. So we are going to be creating this interface, but before that, remember we are pushing our code to our GitHub. So we are going first of all to come here and then make sure that we are pushing our code to our GitHub. So I'm going to clear first of all my terminal, and if I can do git branch first of all, and when I do git branch here, you can be able to see we are in a branch that is called scheduler, and that is because we were building this part that we are calling background services, but instead here for the branch I called that this is a branch that we are calling scheduler, where we are going to push all the changes that we are going to do on our background services. So let's do that. So I'm going to push my code, or first of all to add every files that we added. So git add, and then you can be able to add all the files that and changes that you have done. The other thing is also to make sure that you commit the changes. So git commit and then -m here. We can add added or completed. Let's call this completed uh, completed background services, background services, background services, like that. And then when I commit, I can be able to push. But now remember, I'm pushing this branch that is called scheduler, because this is the branch that we are in, because this is the branch that you are working on right now. So push the scheduler. So git push origin and then scheduler. So we can click enter, and then I'll be putting my passphrase. So let me add my passphrase here, so that we can be able to authenticate and push our code. So let us see. Now it has pushed my code. So if I come here, we are going to do pull request. Remember in our last video I talked about what is the pull request and how to use pull request when you're managing a larger project. I know this is not a very large project, but it is very critical to know how to use pull request. So I'm going to this branch or this GitHub repo here that you can see, and also you'll be able to see notification here in a while. And this is the notification. Scheduler had recent pushes 29 seconds ago. So I'm going to compare and pull request here. So this is the work of pull, and compare here is the work of project manager. So I'm showing you the work of a developer and also of project manager. So here you can see create pull request, and here we can be able now to merge. So it's checking for compatibility, and after that we can merge pull request and then confirm merge. And this means that we are going also to make sure that we have merged the branches. And if you come here to insights, you'll be able to also to see that. So insight, under insight you can go to network, and here you can be able to see my graph. So now the other thing, because now we are going to start from our front end, what we are going to do, we are going to create another branch. So I'll git branch, and then this branch we are going to call it front end, like that. And right now if I do git branch, I'll be having 3 branches. So I'm going to switch to this branch that we are calling front end. So git checkout, and then front end. So front end, like that, git checkout front end, and then I can be able to do another thing here, git branch. And if you do that, you can be able to see now we are in this branch that is highlighted using green, which is frontend. Now any changes that we are going to do, we'll be working on this branch that is called frontend. So I'm going to close this GitHub here. Also, I think the other one, like this HubSpot Academy here, I'm going to close it. So now I want us to start creating our project using React. So by now, if you haven't subscribed, kindly remember to subscribe and also like this video so that we get into our tutorial. So then let's get into our tutorial. without wasting time. So here we have documentation on how we can be able to create our React using Vite and also using Tailwind CSS. So this is the documentation that you can be able to use to create your React using Vite and Tailwind CSS. And Vite is a tool that helps us to make easier to create React project and also to deploy them. So and also to build them. So you can come here to tailwindcss.com and then /docs/guide and then Vite, and here you can be able to do that. So first of all, we need to have this to copy this command, and then we can paste it, and then we are going to cd in, and then after that we can install Tailwind because we are going to use Tailwind, and Tailwind is common nowadays. So I think it's a very best or very good time to start looking at Tailwind CSS if you already don't know about CSS or Tailwind CSS. So what we are going to do is that first of all, I'll be coming here into my code, and the other thing is that first of all, I'm going to delete this folder here, and I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to delete this here because we are going to create it when we are creating our React application. So the other thing is that now we can be able to come inside this application, and I'm going to copy my first command, which is this npm create bit at latest, then my project and then template. I'm going to copy that, and here I can be able to paste it like that. And actually I can just maybe terminate this operation for a while. So this command here, but now here, because this is the name of the project, I'm going to change this to front end like that, and then now we can say enter like that. So the other thing that I want to do is to make sure that my backend and also my Tailwind is my backend and my background services are working. So let me just open terminal here. So this is terminal, open new terminal here. We are going to use PowerShell. So let me scroll this up, and then also here you can see we have a front end. You can see here the name of the front end or the name of our React application. We're going to call it front end here, and you can see here we have like it is giving us like an error. So I'm going to just remove this, and then I'm going to say enter like that. And then the other thing that I need to do is I need to cd into the project. So cd in the project, cd in project, my project is called frontend like that. And if you also come here in the project, you can be able to see we have this file folder already that is called frontend, and you can see there are other things that have been added inside that folder. So I'm going to also come here and then clear, then go to the second command that we need to use, and this command here that is for installing Tailwind CSS. I'm going to copy that, and then I can paste it inside now this project. And then when it is installing Tailwind CSS, here I'm going to also make sure that I start backend and background services. So I have a backend here, and this backend I'm going to start it using node.mon and then index.js like that. Also, I'm going to have my background services started. So here I can start by background services. So let me cd into background services like that. Also this one, because it's also a backend, I'm going to use index.js like that. So this one, these two we need to be started. So this one should start in a while. So the server is running on port 5001. And also the other thing that I can do is that I can come here in index.js, and then here I can add here, let's say this one, we can call it background services, so that we also differentiate between our server and the background services. But background services generally is just our backend. Background services is running on port like that, and then I can cross that, and then I'll push this up here. And when you come up here, you can see background services is running on port 5001. So I can push this down here so that we can have a space of working with. And then here also I can cross this. I'm going to work on our front end here. Let me see if Tailwind has finished or have been installed. So yes, so we are going to go into this part here that we are calling npm in Tailwind CSS init, and then -p. So we are going to do that here. We are going to copy that command and then install also this part here, or this one is creating Tailwind CSS config file, and also it is creating post CSS config file here. So after that, now we need to go to this file here that is called tailwind.config.js, and here we need to start to add this content that we have index.html inside there, and also this source, and then everything that is inside here in this content. Because if you come here into this project and let me look for this Tailwind. So Tailwind, you can see this file here that is called tailwind.config, and also I want to close some of these files so that we don't have to be confused. So like that. So when I come to this part that is called let me close all this, and then inside this tailwind.config here, .config.js, you can be able to see it has this part, this code here, but you can see here we have to add this part. We have to add this index.html and this source and the other part of the code. So I'm going to copy this. Let me copy that, and then inside here I'm going to paste that code like that, and then save it. And then now the other step is we are going to copy this part of the code here, and then we can be able to actually make sure that we are going to use it in our index.css, because that's how you configure CSS, Tailwind CSS in your project. So here we need to look for this index.css, and we can come up here. Let me come up here, and then I can paste this line of code and then save it. So the other thing that we need to do is to make sure that we run this project now. So I can copy this command here, and then this one I'm going to run it inside this project or in my VS Code. Let me open another terminal. So after this, now we have this terminal. We can cd into our project like that. And then the other thing is that I can paste this command npm run dev, and here it should run for us. And here by default it should be running at port 5173, but in our case we have another project that is running on that port, so automatically it have selected the next port, which is 5174 or 5174. So we can open that. So let me try to actually open here. So I'm going to follow the link, and then you can see our project will be open right here. So you can see how beautiful it is, and this is just to show us that our project is running. So what we are going to do also is to remove this boilerplate code, because you can see here we have boilerplate code, and also here you can see we have this title here that is Vite plus React, but here we need to add our expense tracker text. So we are going to look for that, and this one we are going to get it into this we are calling index.html. If you come here, you can see title here, and I'm going to push this down. So here I'm going to change this to expense tracker up expense. I'm going to remove this. So expense tracker up like that, and then here I can be able to save this. The other thing is also, if you do that, you'll be able to see here the changes. Let me reload again, and if we don't have an error here, I cannot see any. If I think we have an error, so what I'm going to do here is that I think here I have an error that is, let me just maybe make sure that my front end is running. So we have our backend here, and I think I have crossed the part that we have our front end running. So I'm going to get into cd front end again, and then I'll do npm run dev. I think there's some mistake that have happened. So let us see. So this is running. Yes. So let me open forwarding like that. So here also I need to push this down. So if I do that, and then let's come here, be able to see now this is expense tracker app because we have changed the title. So the other thing is that I need to remove this boilerplate here, this boilerplate code, and this is in this part that we are calling app.js because this is the entry file in our application. So I'm going to copy all of this, or I'm going to cut all of this code here and delete it. So let me just remove everything here. I'm going to remove this also. I'm going to remove all of this stuff up here like that. And then the other thing is that I'm going to format my code. And after that, now we can save this. And now let's see how our application will look like. So if I do this, you can be able to see we have this part, and this part doesn't have any text. So we are going also to remove this background that is black. So let's do that, and that we are going to get into this index.css. Here we can be able to remove everything. For example, this one. So I'm going to remove this from here, root. Actually, let me remove everything inside here, and then we are going to leave this code here. You can see the code that we added for Tailwind CSS. So if I save that, and you can be able now to see here we have like a very plain application or website. So we are going also to get into now here app.js, and then here I can be able now to start coding. So here I am not going to use fragment. I'm going to use this one that we are calling the divs. So I'm here. I think I need to also add brackets. So let me add brackets like that, and then I can paste my code. The divs here, I need to have the divs here inside here, so like that. So I think this should have them remove the mistake. Let me try and see if we can do that. I think here we have this part, and unreachable code detected. So here I don't know why I'm having this error. So let me try and have this part here that we can have this part, and then let's try and return the divs here. And I think that's okay now. And then here, the other thing that I'm going to do is that here I'm going to add, let me say, a heading. So I'm going to add heading 1, and then I can add expense, or I can say expense tracker. I need to use small letters here, up like that. Let me save this. So if I save this, and then you can be able to see here we have this expense tracker up here, like this text. And I want to see if my Tailwind CSS is working, has been configured the way it should. So I'm going to add class name here, and I can add like a text color. Text color should be, let's add it to be red. And then if I save this, let's see if this will work. And then here I can add actually even the variation. So variation is 500. If I save this and come here, you can be able to see actually it's changing color. So this one you can see it has changed colors. That means that our Tailwind is working because this is Tailwind. So also, if you have not worked with Tailwind, don't worry, because I'm going to work on this application slowly so that you understand. So here I need to start now creating my project. So the first thing that I need to do, I'm going to create this header here, because you can see here we have this header. So that's what we are going to create. So I'm going also to make sure that we have this region. You can see we have margin here. So we are going we having the first div here, and then we can have another div inside here. And this div, we are going to give it now the styling. So here class name, we are going to give it a styling of, let's say, a flex first of all, because everything that will be inside here will be having that flex, and then flex direction will be colon. We are going to have justifying content to be center, and also we can have items center. The other thing is also we can have other things like margin top. So margin top here, we can give it a margin top of 3%. So, and then also we are going to have like a width. We can give it a width of 80%. So let's add here 80%. 80%. The other thing that we are going to have is margin right. And margin right here, we are going to give it 5%. 5%. And then we can have also margin left, which we are going to give it also 5%, like that. So if I save this, they will not be having any changes. We will not see any changes because we have not added any text. So if I come here also, and now inside here I can have my text or my head. So here if I do that and save it and come back here to my application, there's no change that you can see right now. But now we are going to start creating our header. So our header here, we have heading 1, and this heading 1 we are going to call expense tracker, like that. Add it here, and then if I save this, now you can be able to see where it is. And the other thing is that also we can be able to, and this is because of this part that you can see here. We are doing justify content, and then justify content center, and also item center, which is align item center. So we are going also to make sure that we style this. So first thing that we are going to do is we are going to give it font size. So class name here, to give a font size in Tailwind CSS, you can use text, and then you can use like 2XL, and also you can do 3XL. The other thing is you can give it a font weight of medium, and then also we can give it text, and this text we can give it a specific color of #555, which is a dark color. The other thing is I think that's okay. Actually, we can save this. When we save this now and come back here, we can be able to see expense tracker here. So the other thing that we are also we need to do is that now we need to have another part. We are going to have another part, and this part is this part that you can be able to see here. So the top part here, that we have this button, this one here, and also this search part here. So this one is like a top area, and then we are going to have this part that we are displaying these expenses. So let me do that. So let's get inside here, and we are going to have now the first part. So this part here, we are going to have a div, and then here we are going to style it. First of all, we have class name, and this class name we can give it now. We can try and style it. First of all is we are going to have flex here, and then also we can have, the other thing that we can have is items should be center, so like that. And also we can have justify between, because we need to have space between them. And also we can have margin top of 5 like that. And also we can have like a width. We need to have a width. Let's add width here of 100%, 100%, like that. So this part here, so inside this part now, remember this part here, we need also to have this part here that holds our button, and also this part here. So what you are going to do, let's get inside here also. We are going to have another div inside here that will hold those two buttons, and here we can be able to make sure that we have the first button and the second button. So this one we are going to style it, so class name. So class name here we are going to have position to be relative, because also we are going to create pop-ups, but I'm going to show you that. So also here is a display of flex. We are going to give it a justify content to be between here, and also we can have a margin or the width of 300 pixels. So 300 pixels. This is because I want these buttons. So let's get back here. I want this part that holds button to be 300 pixels, so that when we do justify between, it won't go far away from each other. So it will be constrained within a width of 300 pixels. So also we are going to get the other part now. We are going to have the other part here that holds the search, that have the searches. If you check here, we have this part for searching. So that one, we are going to create it here. But for now, let's create those two buttons. So we are going to have a button here. So a button like that. The first one, the first button, we are going to call it add expense. Add expense. Let me add here, add expense. And here also we are going to have another button. On this button here, we are going to have a text of expense report, like that. So here I can be able also to style. So first thing, I need to format this code because I don't want to have a lot of extra spaces. So here let me add class name, and here we have now to style the button. So the first thing that I'm going to give it is background color, and you can see here right away this color here. So let me add it. So this color is hash and then AF and then 89 and then 78, like that. So you can be able to see this color here. And if we go back to our application here, already you can see we have it here. And I don't know why I cannot be able to see this one here, the other button that is this expense report here. Let me go back and see. So we cannot be able to see it, but I'm going to we have it here actually. So let me see where the problem is. So here we have width of, actually this is pixels, not percent. That is the problem. So if I do that, you can be able to see, yeah, this one has returned here, so the way we wanted. So also then again, I need to have background of this color. This is brown color here. So let me just continue here. So the other thing that we are going to have for this button is we are going to give it a padding. So a padding of, let's say, 10 pixels. 10 pixels. We are going to have also like a border of none. Border of none, like that. We are going to have like outline also to be none. Outline none. We are going to give it also cursor pointer. So cursor should be pointer. So you can see cursor pointer here. And then the other thing, we are going to give a text. And when you want to give any specific color or any specific styling, you can use hyphen, and then you can use these two square brackets, and then inside here you can specify whatever you want. So for example, this one for weight, for the width, you can be able to see we are doing that. For width here also we are doing that. So you can specify here using that hyphen and then square brackets. The other thing that I'm going to do here is we are going to give it a text of medium. So medium, you can see that, like that. And also if I save this and then go back into my project, you can be able to see now that we have add here. add expense, and you can see it is styled the way we wanted. So now, because these two buttons are the same, we can use the same styling, but then again change the color, because you can see this one has a different color. So to do that, I'm going to copy this class name here. So let me copy this class name, all of it until here, like that. Copy it and then apply the same for this button here. Copy it there, and here we are going to change now the background. So let's see how they look like. So you can see they look alike, but I want to change the color, background color here. So let me specify this color. So we have this color here that I want to change. So for this color here, we are going to use a color here like blue, and then we are going to use a variation of 300 like that. So let's see. So if I come back here, you can be able to see this will change color. Don't know why I don't see like it is changing color. So I have not saved that, that's why. So you can see now this one has changed color, and it looks the same with this one. So after that, now we are going to look for this part that we are going to add this part that is called input. So let's do that. We have that part that we are calling in. Now here we are going to have that part that you are calling the input, and here this is a div. We are going to give it like, actually we can leave it like that, and then we can add the input here, and then now we can be able to style the input. Now to style the input, it will be easier. So class name here, add a class name, and then inside here we can be able to add now like the padding. So this is the padding of, let's say, 10 pixels like that. Also we are going to have a width of 150 pixels. 150 pixels. The other thing that we are going to have is border. Should be a border of 2. We need to have a border 2, and then we are going to have the border color, which we are going to give it a border color of hash, and then 444, that is a dark outline, our border, and then we can add border solid like that. So now let's look and see how it look like. So if I save this and then come back into my project, you can be able to see already it has been styled okay. And you can see here, because inside here we have this section that we are having it here. You can see inside this section we have this part that we are calling the buttons, or that contains the button, and outside here we have this input. And you can see this one, the larger part that holds buttons and the input, we make the styling to have justify between, and that's why you can see this button or this search part, it has been pushed up to here. So I'm going to also to actually make sure that also I add the placeholder. So let me add the placeholder here. So placeholder like that, and here I can be able to add the text search. So search like that, and then when I save this now, you can be able to have it like that. So already you can see how simple it is. So now we are going to look at the other part. You can see we have this part now, that we have this part that is for displaying the this part that is for displaying these expenses. So let's do that. And this one will be, actually we have this one, and this part here that holds the bigger part. Now inside here we can have now this part that is holding now our expenses. So let's do that. So now what we are going to do is, first of all, to make sure that we have this part, and this part we are going to give it the styling. First thing here, we can give it a class name like that, and here we can be able also to add like we are going to add now the styling. First thing is flex, and then flex direction should be column, because they are going to be displayed vertically. so the cards, and then inside here now we can be able to create the card. So let's create the card. So the card should be, let's give the styling first of all. So class name, and here we can have like the the position to be relative. Also we are going to have like the flex direction here. So the flex display we should be flex. We are going to have a justify content to be between, so this one. And also we can have other things like items, align items to be center. The other thing is also we can have the width. So the width here should be 80%, and actually this one should be inside here like that, 80%. And also after this width, now we can have the height. The height we can specify using this square bracket here, 100 pixels. And also we can have the other part, that is this background color here. We can specify the color now. This color should be faded brown, so #F3, and then we can have ED and then EB like that. So you can see the color. And then the other thing is we can give a margin vertically of, let's say, 20 pixels. And then the other thing that I can do is to give it a padding of also the vertical, and then here we can give it like 10 pixels like that. So if I save that, let me save this. If I save this and then come back here into my application, because we have no any text, we cannot be able to see this card. So let me do that. Let me come here and add the first part that we are having is this text. So we have this text here for displaying us the snacks. So let's do that. So in our code, we are going to have the very first text, and this one we are going to give it header like that. And here we can give it like the name. So here I can say this is a snacks like that, and here we can also be able to style it. So let us style it very quick. So to style it, we can be able to come here and add class name. So class name, and also we can have now the styling, which we can give it like for example margin. Can give it a margin here, margin of, let's say, 20 pixels. Also we can have the other thing, which is text, and a text of, let's say, hash yeah, 555. The other thing that we can have is the text, and then the text here also we can give it a text of the text of 18, font size of 18 pixels. And also we can give it a font of medium, so you can be able to see it like that. And then let's see the changes. So this is one is for the snacks. So here you can be able to see it's taking a small space here. So let's try another part now, or the other text, which is the date, because you can see here we have the dates. This one is dates here. So let's do that. So for the dates here, let me add here. So we have the dates. So this one also we are going to have it as also the heading. So, or we can also add like a span. Let's use the span here. For now, let me add span like a text, and here I can add something like date 20 and then May 2024 like that. So here I can be able to add the class name. So class name, I'm going to start by styling this. So the first thing that we can style here, we can give it a margin of, that's 20 pixels, like the heading up here. So the other thing that I can do is to give it like the font size, of which I can give it a font size of 18 pixels like that. And also we can have now the other part. I think this is okay. Let's see how it will look like. So let me go back into my application, and here you can see it is stretching, but for right now we cannot see it taking the full width. So I'm going to come here and see where the problem is, but we are going to deal with that in the next video. So right now I have completed part of the front end. So in the next video now, we are going to have this front end completed, so that we continue also for integration, and then this project will be over. So without much ado, I want to end this video here. Remember to like and also subscribe, because I don't want also this video to be very long. Let me end this video here. See you. Have a great day.